Hi, it's Rob Moore here. Welcome to the Disruptive Entrepreneur video podcast. I'm just about to go in and interview Richard Reed, who's set up the world famous Innocent Smoothie brand. So come with me, we're going to go into his offices. You'll probably hear a little bit of keyboard work and everything else because we're actually right in his open plan office, but I think you're going to love this interview. These offices are beautiful. I feel like I'm in someone's living room here.
Well, that's what we tried to make it.
Right,
like,
it's
like being at home but with computers.
Before we kind of get in, we've got a backdrop here and some people might be wondering kind of what's this all about? Could you just tell us about this?
Well, there's a clue in the name and the fact they're in Jamjar. So this is
Right.
Jamjar's head office. Each one of these Jamjars represents one of the businesses that we've invested in. We do angel funding of businesses that are consumer facing. So
Okay.
it can be tech, non-tech, it can be anything from sort of the latest in dog food to the latest in technology.
Okay.
And it's all about businesses that are making life better, easier for consumers by harnessing creativity, smartness, hard work, and building wicked businesses. And we've got 35 of them that we've invested in so far, and we're always looking out for more.
And you have my favourite thing of all time on here. Where's Deliveroo? We were just talking
Right
about
there,
that.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if there's any lifesaver business I've ever seen where the missus is maybe a little bit stressed or you just can't be bothered to do any cooking, I must admit, probably 4 times a week, probably 250,
Great, mate. Well done.
250 quid a week probably on that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, look, my pleasure. So,
No, but you're exactly right, Philip. I used it last night because my girlfriend came over and she said, "Oh, can we just get a Deliveroo?" I'm like, "Yeah, great. What do you want?" Japanese, Bing.
Yeah.
It's genius. It just works so well.
So we'll probably get to some of this in a minute if that's all right. So I'm sure everyone knows that you set up Innocent, which is an amazing brand, and of course now Jamjar Investments. I was very inspired by your book. I am a big book junkie. I love listening to Audible. I've got a few on there myself, and I noticed yours because it was nudging mine a little bit down. Not that I'm competitive.
Sorry.
No, that's great. And I just thought the concept was great.
Which book are we talking about?
If I could tell you just one thing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought you meant the Innocent book. Yeah.
No,
If I could tell just one
this
thing.
one,
Yeah.
And just all the, like, I just thought the concept of the best piece of advice from a range of amazing people. I just thought it was a great concept. So I'm on my third listen. Terry Waite especially, I thought was.
Yeah, what a dude.
You know, how can you be so humble and grounded when someone's taken half your life away?
Real life moment meeting that guy when you to actually be sat with the guy that's been through those 5 years and to have him say what he said, which is, you know, as you're saying, is the ultimate empathy, non-judging other people, patience, tolerance. You become a better human being just by being in the presence of him. Yeah,
we've got him. He's speaking at one of our events.
Is that right?
Yeah, a bit later on in the year, and I'm really excited. I think he's going to do an interview as well, so that would be great. So
he's a big fella as well. He must be like 6'6". He's a proper gentle giant.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him. So, what gave you the? Because I just think that's a really strong concept of a book. You know, there's a lot of people that write a lot of books. It's kind of like, you know, having a really clear, strong concept, I think it can make a book great. And I just thought you had one there. Was it just one day you got, wow, I've learned a lot of things from a lot of cool people, or?
Well, I can give you like the professional answer and the unprofessional answer.
Give us both.
Yeah. And they're both actually true.
Okay.
The professional answer is, I can generally pinpoint in my life on 3 or 4 moments where someone gave me an amazing bit of advice and it completely and utterly changed the direction which I was heading in a hugely beneficial and positive way.
So you've had a lot of those, have you then, over your
I
journey?
really have.
Yeah.
And so I'm mindful of how powerfully positive the right bit of advice can be. I'm also mindful of how lucky I am that I've happened to be in the room with some smart people, decent people that have given me the right bit of advice.
Yeah.
Was actually, I think for a lot of people, they're not necessarily in the room with smart people giving them good advice or advice that's actually positive.
Yeah.
So this was really an exercise in trying to capture some of the wisdom of our age and make it available to everyone.
Right.
And actually going further, and that's why 100% of the royalties from the book go to charity, to fund social mentoring and inclusion charities, because it's all about trying to give people access to good role models, good advice, better decision making, so they can then, you know, prove where they're heading in life. So that's all 100% true and 100% sincere, and I absolutely mean it.
Yeah.
I also am very lazy, and I wanted to come up with an idea of a book that didn't need writing.
Right.
And my original concept was it was just going to be the single piece of advice from the person next to their photo, which wouldn't have required any writing at all.
Yeah.
I just asked, email them for their piece of advice. My publisher said, mate, that's not a book. You can get that for free off Facebook. So it had to be about encounters. So then I had to then make sure I met these people and walked alongside them for a while.
Yeah.
And that's why the book is it's got this sort of richer, you're in the context of this person, what they've done in their life, and then them sharing their best piece of advice, which I think hopefully makes it at least a more interesting book and has more to it.
I think what's good about it as well is, you can start it, you're on the train, you do 30 minutes, you stop. It's not like you've got to get back into the story, you just dip in and out for a bit of motivation.
I realised I was saying this to a publisher, it's probably the wrong person to say it. I say most people don't have time to read a book anymore. Then, yes, it's 60 little short form, 1,000-word essays. And as you noticed, the advice has also been sort of put in big, bold letters, so you don't even have to read the essay.
Well, I listen to it. I have you on 2 times speed in my head, so...
Do you really have it on 2 times speed?
Yeah.
You're joking?
You can listen to yourself if you want on 2 times speed when we're finished.
It doesn't make me sound like a smurf.
No, you sound good.
But is that just so you can get the information quicker?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a bit weird though when you do a lot of 2 times speed and then you're sitting talking to your fiance and you're like, can you just get to the point a bit quicker? Yeah.
So for you, this conversation is a bit slow.
No, it's good actually. It's good. So I just wanted to...
I can try and talk really quick if that's going to make it better.
That's good, yeah, that's good. So I really love the book. Now, of course, you've probably been asked this, but I shouldn't judge myself on asking the questions. I should just ask the ones I want to ask. You've had a lot of best bits of one piece of advice that you've published. So what's yours? What one thing, if you could share just one thing.
It's funny, if I've had one bit of feedback from the book, it's people going, but you never put your own in.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't. Because it was never about me. The book isn't about me at all. I'm not in the book, and nor should I be. It's about hearing what Bill Clinton's got to say, or Richard Branson, or Andy Murray, or Judi Dench, or Nicola Sturgeon. All these people have done exceptional things, or had exceptional things happen to them. But seeing as you're asking, I've got loads, but to put my own...
It's hard now.
Exactly. I made people come up with one. Mine is cut everyone some slack,
right,
including yourself.
Yeah, which is great advice.
Yeah, well, I read it, funnily enough, a few years on Facebook, and it chimed with me, and it's like, because I can be impatient with people thinking, well, what are you doing that for? Just, who knows what kind of day they're having, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what their life experience is? And it's probably just in your own head, you're being impatient or whatever it is anyway. And so if you cut everyone some slack and cut yourself some slack, life just gets a bit more relaxed, a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, because on the note of yourself, it's very easy to beat yourself up about stuff you're doing or how
we all
people
do,
are
right?
perceiving you, and they might not even be perceiving you in that way. So.
Yeah, and actually they're probably not thinking that. They're probably thinking about what they're having for tea and what the next delivery order is going to be.
Yeah.
But so you could just give yourself some slack, give everyone else some slack.
Yeah. Okay. So you clearly have been very affected by people that have given you advice. Whether you call them mentors or whether you've just been in a good position to get some advice from them. I do know quite a lot of people who are like, oh, well, you just got to get up and do things yourself and make mistakes as you go. So you've got should you have mentors? Should you sort of bish, bash, bosh, make your own mistakes and not listen to anyone else? Do you have where does Richard sit in his thought process in that?
Oh, I think you've got to find whatever way works for you. There definitely is no right way. There's no algorithm to it. Everyone's experience of going through life is unique to them and their past experiences, and I wouldn't presuppose for 1 second to think that I know the answer and you should be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, I personally try and avoid any sentence at all that involves the verb should. I think should is a nonsense sort of verb in terms of where it takes you.
Sure.
I have benefited from listening to and seeking out the advice of others. I try not to give unsolicited advice to people. I think advice is typically best being asked for rather than being transmitted to.
Yeah.
And of course, people are going to give you some terrible advice as well. I've been on the receiving end of awful advice. I've given awful advice. There's no guarantee,
advice, but it wasn't relevant to you, so it might be good for someone else. For example.
It's a great point, right? Because actually, a good bit of advice could be a terrible advice. The same bit of advice could be terrible for someone else, or change the context, or change it time by a year, and then suddenly what was good is bad and what was bad is good. It's about just trying to work out what serves you best, understand where you're trying to get to in life, what the things that feed you, and do more of them and do less of the things that don't.
Yeah. You've had two really great successful parts of your life. You probably had many more, but in terms of what the world might know, obviously Innocent and Jamjar. Do you now get a chance to give back and help others? Is that something that you like to do?
Well, I think if you look at the heritage of the business, from the beginning, we were giving a material proportion of our profits to charity. That's from literally the beginning of the business. And the business was set up by 3 people, and all 3 of us independently wanted to be doing that.
Yeah.
And if you look at actually the 3 founders of Innocent and go back to their childhood, all of us were doing sort of small scale charitable things. So that side of Innocent, of giving back, was something that was within the 3 different people that came together to set up the company, and therefore we made it part of the DNA of the company, which of course then attracted people into the business that thought like that too. So actually you have within Innocent, and don't get me wrong, we are not a charity, we are a for-profit business and proud of it. And in addition to growing revenues and growing profits and thinking about how can we get as many healthy drinks to as many people and places as possible, we do also measure ourselves and take pride from the amount of money that we create through charity by giving 10% of the profits to it. So giving back, I think, was within all of us. I think it's manifested very clearly. You can see it in the audited accounts of the business. And even with Jamjar, we don't make it a big banner thing, because it's not a big banner thing, but we're not going to support a business that we don't think has got its sort of, is the right side of the line of whether it's sort of adding to society rather than detracting from society. And each of us, we all have our own personal foundations, which we use to support financially the charitable things that we individually, personally connect with. Because whilst Jamjar is a fantastic team effort amongst the 7 people that are involved, and Innocent was a fantastic team effort of 350 people, the 3 founders are completely separate, sentient human beings, and they care about different things. So when we do work together on a charitable initiative, it's through the Innocent Foundation, which is the separate charity that the business gives money to. But even with that, we have like massive arguments because we sort of care about different types of things. But the good news is, we're having the arguments because we all care so passionately about the things that we care about. So it's sort of, even though they're big arguments, they're very sort of, they come from a very positive place. So yes, that was an incredibly long-winded way of saying, do we give back now? I'd like to think, yes, we do. Could we do more? Of course. Have we always done what we, has it always been a core bit of how we approach business? Absolutely.
Where do you think that real desire to be charitable has come from you?
I was bored when I was about 8 or 9, and I remember walking around Huddersfield town centre.
I went to uni there.
Did you?
Uni.
Uni.
Polytechnic turned into a university.
University of Huddersfield, mate, don't diss it.
No, I'm sorry.
Patrick Stewart's the vice of...
I probably brought its average grades down a little bit.
Maybe. Good place to be a student though, no?
Yeah, we had a great... That's why. It was a great time for not doing work.
Well, I personally think the point of university is to not do work. Because then you've got another 50 years of doing work, haven't you? But as a kid, I went round Huddersfield town centre and there was a Greenpeace stall showing some pretty horrific pictures of whales being captured and slaughtered, and they were doing a sort of a little awareness drive on Save the Whales. And I remember being a bit upset and speaking to my mum and trying to make sense of it all and what could I do? And she said, well, if you care about it, if you want to help, why don't you organise a jumble sale? Because I lived in a village, and so I said, what's a jumble sale? She said, oh, it's this. And so I'd go around and knock on neighbours' doors and get their old second-hand shoes and clothes, and in our garage on a Saturday morning, 2 till 4, we have a jumble sale, and I think we made £11.83 from what I remember. There's a picture of me and my sisters holding a little check-up in the Murfield Reporter. Murfield is the little town we were from, and so there, from that point, a sort of sense of there's some bad things going on in the world, but we can all do our part to help reduce them.
And how do you balance serving your own self and desires for profit and helping and serving others? Because it must be a bit of a balancing act.
Oh, no, because I definitely put myself first.
Right.
And, I'm a big fan of you've got to put your own oxygen mask on, when the plane's going to put your own...
Otherwise you can't help others, can you?
Exactly. You get 40 seconds, otherwise you're in trouble. You put your oxygen mask on, make sure you're solid, you can help as many people as on the plane. So, look, I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm some like big charity work. I'm an entrepreneur. And my fellow entrepreneurs, we align around a view of businesses should be first about making money, but also playing their part in doing good too. And I think that actually firstly is about the nature of the enterprise. What does it make and how does it make it? That's actually more important than the charity side of the business. Like, we only make healthy stuff and we make sure we invest in making it environmentally and socially sustainable as possible. So the very act of the business is good. And then we give 10% of profits to charity. Still keep 90%. But if every business in the world gave 10% of its profits to charity, it would literally be a different world, while still working fully within the current capitalist system. Now, I just think, like, why don't you? Because we got 10% better performance from the team, 10% more engagement, 10% more loyalty. So actually, I think it nets out financially, and you're getting to support charity.
I think a lot of people think that sort of the business and then the philanthropy or the sort of the capitalism and the giving are separate things. I really believe we can make them be the same thing, and looks like you're an example of that.
Well, you've only got one life, right? I mean, it's all part of the same thing. You don't have to. I'd never 1 second say that thou should do this kind of thing, but I think that 10% of profits going to charity, I think it absolutely worked on its sociable, charitable aims. But I think actually, it's not the reason why we did it, but we're very glad to have it. I think it worked commercially too. I think the business was more than 10% better off from having done it.
In a way, it's kind of ironic that what you did with Innocent in a way disrupted companies like Coca Cola, and of course then they ended up ratcheting up parts of your business, didn't they?
Well, they now own it outright.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know what? Yeah, 100%.
Oh, right.
Do you know what? 10% of profits still go to charity. How good's that? Because that's, you really want to affect change. You want to, you got to try and hack into the matrix a little.
Was the goal to sell out, or was the goal something different when you started with your two partners?
Oh, there was no talk of selling out. We started from a market.
You didn't start and go, we are going to sell to Coca Cola in 5.5 years for X million.
No, we were like, how do you make smoothies? I mean, we started from a market stall. It's not an imagined folklore story. We started from a market stall. We were thinking about it seriously and working hard at it. But our first day, we sold 24 bottles to our local sandwich shop, and we built the business up organically from then. It was we were doing it for the excitement, for the thrill of friends working together, of having a mission and a cause and a belief, and it was an adventure, man. It was like a vehicle to drive through life on, and it was the most exciting thing that I've personally been involved in. But after 15 years of making fruit juice, I guess there was a sense of, I love fruit juice. I really love fruit juice. But 15 years of fruit juice is like, I don't need more than 15 years of fruit juice. It's a great amount of time in fruit juice.
And time to do something else.
Because why not?
And
there is a bit of, look, I don't want to sit and go, make out, we're some sort of charitable enterprise. We're not. Jamjar is about investing in businesses that we think are going to make it. But there is some sort of business karma. We were 3 26-year-olds setting them Innocent, trying to find the money to set the business, because we're not from money backgrounds. We didn't have the cash to do it, so we had to try and get someone to invest. And it took over a year, and everyone was saying no. One guy after a year said yes. He took a punt on us. So there's a sense of, we want to also pay back that sort of karmic debt a little. We're still not going to do it if we don't think the business is good, if the team's not great. But this idea of backing young entrepreneurs doing their first business, that's sort of where we are with these things. We want.
So in a way, you're kind of giving back in the manner that you were helped. Or
I don't like saying giving back, because we're putting an investment in for an equity position and it's business. So giving back to me suggests charity. It's not that.
supporting, fueling,
exactly,
helping.
absolutely. In the same way that guy invested in us. If he hadn't invested in us, there would have been no Innocent, and we're aware of that. You can be the yeast that helps the entrepreneur make the dough, and that's what we want to do. We want to help other people have the success that we were lucky enough to have.
Yeah. How did you find it running a business with 3 people? That must have been an interesting dynamic.
A lot of people ask that question. I think I would have asked the same question too. But it's the right question, and for us, it just works super, super well.
Yeah.
And there were several reasons why. One was we just didn't want to do each other's jobs, and actually, the jobs that we each wanted to do added up to a really good team. And
Which is very important, isn't it?
Totally, it would not work if we'd all been trying to be the marketing director. Yeah. The second thing is we had very different interests, very different sort of brains in terms of the way we would sort of think about things or what we'd think about first, but we're massively aligned on the values. Like as an example, and certainly not the only one, this thing about we're all like, it took about half a second for us to decide to give 10% of profits to charity.
Yeah.
So there was an alignment of values, a complementary set of skills, no competition over who was doing what.
Yeah.
So that worked. I think it was one of the things that massively underpinned the success.
I really get a sense that you really love what you do, and there's a passion, and that business is and can be fun. And I see and meet and talk to a lot of people who maybe feel a bit stuck in a grind. I think it's really important to enjoy yourself in business. It's probably half your life. Have you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, what do I think to all that? I think there was times, when Innocent was sort of going well. It sounds sad, but I'd get to the Friday evening. I didn't want to leave the office, and I'd be fizzing like one of those effervescent vitamin C tablets you drop in water. I'd just be fizzing with the buzz and excitement of it working and creating, and you're doing things with, this team of 3 has become a team of 30, and then it's become a team of 100. And the vibe of the business was wicked because people that came into it were like sort of ambitious but altruistic and up for a laugh, and it was young and sociable and creative and commercial and charitable. It was such a multifaceted tapestry of brilliantly positive things.
Yeah.
I think it was it fun? I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had more fun in Ibiza, for sure. But that's a different type of thing, isn't it? It was.
But you need fun and progress, don't you? Fun and you're doing something that matters and is growing and is contributing.
I think it's that. I think you're exactly right. I think it's that you're creating, you're contributing, you're succeeding, and you're doing it in a team. I never would have done it by myself. I wouldn't have had the confidence, and I sure as I wouldn't have had the skills.
Yeah.
But even if I had, it just wouldn't have been as much fun. And you're doing it with your 2 best mates. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that, in my opinion.
Were there any mixed feelings when you got your first big lump of money selling some shares in was it 10% you sold out first? Was that right?
We did, there was 3 stages. The first stage, Coke bought 18%,
right.
But 100% of the money went into the business, so we didn't get any of that.
Right.
Because we were in crisis then. We needed to sell some shares to save the business, essentially. Yeah. Then there was a second stage where they upped their stake to 54%, and that was the first time that we sold some of our shares. So some of the money went into our bank accounts and some into the original investors.
Yeah.
And then we sold the final bit 3 years ago, and that's when we got the bigger check.
Yeah. And how did that all feel? Was it different feelings at different stages? Was there highs and lows in the way that felt?
Well, I've yet to find a low in it all. I mean, it's not why you do it.
Yeah.
But it's a great benefit of having done it. But we didn't, I mean, no one went out and did anything differently. I remember the day, literally the day, because there is a day, and you go into a lawyer's office and sign a piece of paper, and there's someone from Coca Cola, they sign a piece of paper, and then you go to the bank, your ATM, and you put in your 4 digits, and there's a number there. Now that number's always.
How do you feel then?
Well, I mean, first of all, the number doesn't have a minus sign on the front of it, which is a nice change. And then second, it's like there's some zeros there.
Yeah.
I went home that evening, and my wife was like, "We got to go to IKEA because I've got this bookshelf and it's the wrong size." And so I spent the night of having sold our business waiting in the refunds queue in IKEA.
Right.
And I thought,
the glamours of being
the
an
glamour,
entrepreneur.
the glamour. I don't think I even got the meatballs or the hot dog either. I remember it was an 11 quid bookshelf.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, why not? Because you're not done. That's great. We're massively grateful for it. Wasn't why we were doing it. Love it, absolutely love it. But it's not the reason why we were doing it.
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm asking is because a lot of people haven't experienced that, and I know some people who've done it and it was going to be everything, and then there's a bit of a come down when they're out of the business, or or they've half the stakes gone or whatever.
I had an entrepreneur just 2 days ago wanted to come in and ask my advice because he sold his business and he's like, literally, I'm sat at home now.
What do I do?
I've got a load of money in my bank account. I've never had money before. I don't have a job. He was genuinely depressed.
Yeah.
And he goes, look, I know this is the absolute ultimate.
I think that's exactly how I would feel. I do.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to minimise it because, look, as he said, it's a massive first world problem. Let's be clear, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to minimise the fact you've built and created something. You've given birth to this thing. You live 15 years and you walk out. There's a proper loss there.
Yeah.
Trauma,
Yeah.
especially if it happens really quickly. You're going to grieve.
Yeah.
Not like if it's a relationship or a family thing, but it's still real. Your life has gone through a big change. And I just said to him, I said, look, you've got to allow yourself to feel these things because it's natural. But my bet is this: as time moves on a little, you get this incredible, deeper sense of you're solid in life. You're secure now. You're free. You've got freedom, and that's really, really. So you've got to remember to keep telling yourself the very obvious truth that for the mass majority of people, they're not lucky enough to be in that position. So. Yeah, at some point you've got to come and realise for a combination of luck, because no one's successful without being lucky, but also working their nuts off, because I've never met anyone successful that didn't A, work their nuts off, and B, get lucky, right?
Yeah. And take the luck that they was presented, as
That's
opposed to just lots of luck coming by.
That's a great point. Yeah. Everyone at life gets a bit of luck. It's weather. You get clouds and sunshine. It's realising this is my little bit of luck, and now that you've got to have the balls to double down or see it while it's there, because it doesn't mean the next bit of luck's going to come along anytime soon. So yeah, I think that once you get to that stage, you have to then, I think it is helpful to start thinking, okay, what can I do now to help other people?
Yeah.
If you're sat at home moping around because you've got so much money and so much time, you don't know what to do, my solution is always, okay, have a nice holiday, buy a watch or whatever, if it's something like. Start thinking about what you can do to help other people. It's a great way that will start your entrepreneurial things. And you realise there's a billion things you can do that will be exciting and fun.
Yeah.
And might help other people a bit too.
Was there, other than giving big stakes away in companies, was there downside to raising money when you're an innocent, and then what you've seen when you put money into companies? A lot of people don't realise the downside. They just think, I've got the money, it solves all the world's problems, my business's problems, woohoo! But
yeah, well, I guess, now I'm going to sound like a sort of a moaning old man, right? But
an experienced business person, shall we say?
Well, no, because don't forget, I've only done it once.
Yeah.
So
you've
got to do it multiple times to know if you're any good or not.
Sure. So you've raised money in 3 rounds. And
our original round, which I think is more relevant to what we're doing here, is when we're starting out at the business plan, we raised £250,000. And for that, we gave, I think, what did we give? 20% of the business.
Yeah.
That £250,000 is the only money that we raised until we did the Coca Cola deal 15 years later. And by that point, we'd grown into a business that was turning over north of £100 million, was in 15 countries, employing hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Whereas we now, I would say the most common thing that we have of people raising money is they're talking about they're going to raise 1 or 2 mil at this sort of seed round, and then there's going to be a second seed round, and then they're going to do a Series A and a Series B and a Series C and a Series D ad infinitum.
Yeah.
It's like, it seems to be that the point of fundraising is to get the money to give you the time to go and start on your next fundraising round. Now, obviously, I'm massively exaggerating the point, but we've been so infiltrated by the sort of the US tech way of doing things.
Do you watch that TV series, Silicon Valley? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. So, where they make a mockery of it all, but yeah.
And you know, of course, for some of the big businesses, that's totally been the right answer. You raise big money and you grow really rapidly and you worry later about revenues and certainly much later about profitability. And of course, if that works, if that really is the economic model for your industry and for your opportunity, then sure. But some people, I think, have just sort of adopted wholesale that sort of language and process and applying it completely to old school businesses that will never have that multiplier effect, that will do much better to grow a bit more slowly, but with inbuilt revenues and inbuilt underlying profitability, not least so that they keep more of their business. I see businesses, you go, dude, by the time you've done all this, how many shares are you actually going to have left? And I think they're so caught up in the raising the money, they're not necessarily thinking about, I mean, of course, it's better to have a smaller slice of a bigger pie, but it's not better to have a smaller slice of the same size pie. And sometimes they're fundraising and not actually thinking about, is the economic engine underneath, is it actually growing? Is it actually profitable? Is there actually genuine revenues here?
Yeah. This podcast is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. That word disruptive probably has a different meaning in Silicon Valley as it does over here, but does that mean anything to you? Would you say you've been disruptive in your career?
I think we've been disruptive in a very, what's the word? Well, look, we were conscious of, we were trying to zig when other people zagged, right? We were disruptive in the sense that on our packaging, we wrote body copy that was just the way that the three of us spoke to each other.
Yeah.
And
I used to love reading those when they first came out, by the way. I just remember it all very clearly.
And this we can claim.
Yeah.
No one had done that before.
Yeah.
So we did bring that to the world. Now, I don't necessarily see it as it's been a particularly great addition to the world.
That's your legacy, is
well,
it?
You realise now everyone's got all this sort of this really annoying body copy that's trying to treat you like
they call it wackaging.
Wackaging.
They've even got a name for it.
We were the inventors of wackaging. That's like on my sort of...
That's your legacy.
That's my legacy, man. That's bad. But it was, in a very small, minor, quiet way, disruptive. But it helped us get noticed.
You weren't doing it for the sake of it, though, were you? You were doing it because it was part of who you were and...
Yeah, it was the way that we said it's the way that we talk to each other minus the swear words. There was a reason. There's always a reason. It serves the commercial point. We were trying to get noticed.
Yeah.
We were trying to get remembered. We were trying to get talked about. Don't forget, we lived in an era way before things like Twitter had even been dreamt up of. But we were conscious of this. We were trying to get noticed because we didn't have money for advertising. So you got to get noticed. You got to get remembered. You got to get talked about. That in a small way, and it costs nothing, helps.
Yeah. What do you spend your time doing now? What do you love to do?
What do I love to do?
You know, business, personal, whatever. You know.
Well, I guess you know. I these days I'm spoiled. I don't do things that I don't love to do. So I mean, the backbone of the week is Jamjar. Yeah. So that would, you know, it's certainly I'm not here all day every day, as anyone in the office will testify. But I'm doing more hours of this than anything else. Yeah. But then my other anything else, you know, so I wrote that book. I was heavily involved in the referendum campaign. I like to think that they couldn't have lost it without me. And you know, we get involved in charitable stuff. And by the time you've got 35 businesses, you know, in some of them we take board seats, and some of them we sort of act as advisors. So there tends to be slightly more getting involved, especially on the brand side. You know, we get asked to help out quite a bit. So yeah, a combination between business, writing, charity. But I have to say, I love to travel, so I'm definitely taking more than my 20 days holiday allocation. I became a dad the first time. Another amazing blessing. I'm around more. I get to take little Minky Moo out for sort of like a morning walk and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've obviously had successful businesses. Has it been a struggle managing, you know, a nice relationship, being a dad and businesses, or, you know, do you think you've done that pretty well over the years?
Well, I got divorced.
I didn't know that. I wasn't saying
no, but I mean, I'm just thinking. I don't think we can hold me out as a fantastic example of sort of someone, you know. Now, to this day, I don't think the main reason why I got divorced was the sort of the stress and the strains and the growth of Innocent, but it certainly isn't not a factor, and I think it's one of the things you've got to be more mindful of than perhaps I was when if you've got this extremely exciting demanding, all-encompassing thing, which if you wanted to, you could spend every hour of your waking day on it. I didn't by any stretch, but it's always that. You have to just make sure how the other spheres of your life doing too. Because life is, it's never just business, is it? There's your career, there's your health, there's your family, there's your relationships, there's your hobbies. These are all what life makes up, and I probably wasn't as mindful of some of the other plates that were spinning as the big innocent plate.
I know we've only got a couple of minutes left and I want to make sure I don't overstay my welcome, so maybe to finish, and then it'd also be good to just recommend, I'd love to recommend your book, so we'll just
please,
finish that one more time.
I'd love you to.
Because I thought it was great. If you could take a couple of things that you've observed investing in, did you say 35 companies, and sort of, you know, teach startup entrepreneurs, what common things have you seen that they do well or not so well that you think is helpful to others?
Well, there's all the regular stuff that you're going to hear a lot, which is because it's so true and powerful. It is about team. Get together in a crew where you share the same values but have complementary skills. Be really clear-sighted about what skills you need in the business that you're doing and making sure you've got them in the building. There is, of course, this thing of absolutely make sure that your product or your service is better than the competition in a way that's meaningful to your consumer, in a way that you can provide profitably. And make the damn thing beautiful. That's the thing I would say. Make it beautiful. Use the colour.
These guys have sponsored us at some of our events as well.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
And when you see their packaging together with all those beautiful pastel colours, you want it. You want it before you even know what it is. That is what brands need to have. They need to have some innate desire held within them that you don't even logically understand. But it is about shape and colour and taste and texture and sound and feel and vibe. And most times in business, I think most people overrule all that stuff. But as Steve Jobs, he said himself, the thing that Microsoft missed was the fact that we made things beautiful. So it's not some sort of niche little thing of just left one department. The whole business should really be about how can we make this thing more better, beautiful, bigger, harder, deeper, faster, whatever it needs to be for the consumer. So with their experience of that thing is a little moment of joy, of more than satisfaction. Because the great brands do that.
I think a lot of people who run businesses worry about the increased cost of that. And probably don't see the...
Absolutely. And that's my point. Creativity is free. But the value it brings can be infinite. It costs no more for them to do it in beautiful pastel colours than just to be in sort of bold, brash blues and reds. Zero variable incremental cost. Zero. But their brand, because it looks pretty, is the one that shops want to have out on their shelves because it looks attractive. And so this thing that has cost nothing is genuinely delivering real, hard commercial advantage.
So your book is called If I Could Tell You Just One Thing.
Encounters with remarkable people and their best piece of advice.
And I personally listen to it on Audible. It's currently at the top of my list. Could you just summarise a couple of things that really moved you when you were listening to it? Obviously, we can get it on Amazon and Audible. I guess in most bookshops, can you get it?
In fact, I bought 2 copies yesterday from Waterstones, and the guy said, "Oh, this is a really good seller." Which was a nice little moment. I mean, the concept is, as I say, people that are either done something remarkable or had something remarkable happen to them, reflecting on their lives and times, and answering my question, which is if they could only pass on one piece of advice to the next generation, what would it be? And there's 60 people, 30 men, 30 women that represent a wide range of experiences in politics, arts, sports, business, science. Massive names you're going to have heard of, like President Clinton, Richard Branson and Andy Murray, and as I say, Nicola Sturgeon or Judi Dench. And loads of names that you won't have, but got really profoundly deep stories that the people that were on Robben Island along with Nelson Mandela, an Afghan vet that's had 2 of his limbs blown off, an Auschwitz survivor that lost her family but she made it out of there. People reflecting on the best of times, the worst of times. And I think when you've got from literally an Auschwitz survivor at one end to Simon Cowell at the other, you've got a real wide spectrum of human experiences, and they're all
passing on what they consider to be the single most important thing that they've learned. And what I was nervous about the book before I wrote it was that isn't everyone going to ultimately end up saying the same stuff? It's really not that at all, because it's such a wide spread of different experiences and paths through life. Each bit of advice is unique to that person. I think there's this, I can say, whoever reads it, they're going to find something that really chimes with them.
Well, look, I know you have another meeting now. I want to say thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, mate.
Really
Thank you for the
appreciate
plug.
it. Pleasure.
And all royalties go to charity.
Yeah, and also on some of the American podcasts, it's almost like a paid ad. I just want to make it clear, this isn't it's just
this is
a book.
real.
Yeah, a book that I just really thought was great. Got it the day it came out. You should listen to it too. So thanks a lot.
Wicked, mate.
Thank you, Richard.